again, art friends, it's Miss B. Welcome to week 2 of art. For the first 9 weeks of school this year, we're going to be learning about and reviewing the elements of art. The elements of art are the building blocks that artists use to create a piece of artwork. Oftentimes, you probably use at least one of them in every single drawing you make. They are line, shape, color, value, texture, space, and form. Check out this short video to learn a little bit more about the first element of art, line.
Each of these pictures is a self-portrait by a well-known artist. Although they are portraying very similar things, one main idea that differentiates them is how the artists have used line in their work. Line is one of the 7 elements of art, along with shape, color, texture, form, value, and space. These 7 elements are the building blocks of all art and are a great place to start when analyzing or interpreting works of art. Line is the path created when an object moves from one point to another. In the visual arts, lines are made when you draw or paint marks on a paper or canvas, or when materials such as wood, glass, and metal are bent or shaped. Lines are also made by photographers and filmmakers when they choose how to angle their cameras and how to compose their shots. Lines can be horizontal, vertical, or diagonal, straight, curved, or free form. They can be thick or thin, light or dark. Sometimes one line can be all of those things. Lines can be described in many ways: dashed, dotted, rough, smooth, zigzag, implied. What qualities do you see in these lines? How would you describe them? Every artist has a unique way of making lines. It's one way of expressing their individual style. This is a self-portrait by Jean-Michel Basquiat. His lines might be described as bold, jagged, almost messy at times. What do these lines make you think of? Why might he have chosen to represent himself in this way? Compare that to the faint, seemingly unfinished quality of this self-portrait by David Hockney. What do his lines suggest to you? Do they make you think or feel differently than the Basquiat self-portrait? If you were drawing a self-portrait, what kinds of lines would you choose to represent yourself? What kinds of lines would communicate the messages you want viewers to think about? The next time you are looking at a sculpture, painting, or drawing, try to notice what kinds of lines are used and interpret what they mean to you.
This is a quick and easy project that will only use one kind of line, a curved line, to create a really interesting drawing. This is what the project will look like when it's finished. Even though I'm focusing on line for this project, I'm also using other elements of art. Can you figure out which ones? If you said color and space, you were right. I showed space by overlapping, which makes it look like some of the arches are behind the others. For this project, you will need a piece of white paper. If you are at home, you can use your sketchbook for this project, or you can use another white paper. You'll need a Sharpie marker or any thicker black pen and something to color with. I prefer crayons because you can layer them for a shaded look, but you could also use colored pencils or markers. So first, I'd like you to draw a frame around the outside of your paper. You don't have to use a ruler, and it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. The second step is just to draw a series of curved lines Almost like a rainbow, I call them arches, starting from one side of your paper. It could be at the top or bottom as well. Count how many lines you draw as you repeat the same line, making that arch bigger. Definitely looks like a rainbow. I use 4 lines. Now repeat the same set of lines coming from the same side. Again, 4 lines, or however many lines you're using. Keep repeating this until the side of your paper is filled with arches. Now, create the same arched curved line coming out of the original curves. Fill in the space with the same curved lines. And in my case, remember, I used 4 lines for each arch, but maybe you would like to use 5 or 6 lines for each. It's up to you. Keep it the same each time though. You will run into some spots where you need to show overlapping, so remember, just stop when you hit another line and continue on the other side. Repeat this until your whole paper's filled. Don't worry about the arches being the same size. Some can be big, some can be small. Some can be tall and thin, and some can be short and wide. Different is good. They're still similar because you're using the same number of curved lines for each arch. Because we repeated the same line over and over and over again, we created repetition in our artwork. When we add color in the next step, we'll also be adding a color pattern into our artwork. So let's add some color. You are going to be choosing your own color scheme. A color scheme is simply the combination of colors you use. You could use a color scheme like primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, or secondary colors, orange, green, and purple. You could use warm colors, reds, oranges, yellows, and pinks, or a cool color scheme, greens, blues, and purples. You could also choose a monochromatic color scheme where you use different tints and shades of one color. Or you could use an analogous color scheme, which means you use colors in order as they appear in the color wheel or the rainbow. Or you could just be like me and choose a completely random color scheme. I chose red, violet, orange, blue-green, and yellow. Lay out your colors before you start so you can decide what order you want to use them in. It's easiest if you start with the small curves first in all of your arches. That way you can see where they are. There are a lot of them. Then choose your next color. Color the second curve above the first in every single one of the arches. I have a tendency to hold my crayon really tight. My hands hurt after a while. I had to take a break and stretch my hands out. Now choose the third color and color all of your third curves. Repeat this step. It's okay if you don't finish this in one art time. You can always come back to it. Write your first name very neatly in the bottom corner when you're finished. For my virtual learners, you will again upload this project to Artsonia under the gallery Arches Line Lesson. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed week 1's art lesson on the first element of art, line. Be on the lookout for lines. Trust me, they're everywhere you go. Even when you write your name, you're using lines. Stay tuned next week for a lesson on the second element of art, shape.